After nearly a year since RWBY Volume 9 came to an end, we're now actually getting more Volume 9 content in the form of RWBY Volume 9 Beyond, a 4-episode series of short cinematics that are going to focus on what was happening in Remnant while Team RWBY and Jean were in the Ever After. In other words, this is going to be our chance to see what's been happening with a number of our other fan-favorite characters that we haven't seen in at least 3 volumes at this point, some of which we probably haven't seen since Beacon Academy. Likely, and hopefully, there will be at least one episode that focuses on Team Coffee. And on top of that, this series will hopefully answer at least a few of the questions we've had about what's been happening in Remnant, because we know that there's been a time skip. Maybe we'll get the answer as to how long that time skip has been in Team RWBY and Jean's absence, and, well, what's been going on with the rest of the world. The first episode of this series actually dropped today, and is currently available for free publicly for everyone on Rooster Teeth's website. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, so I highly encourage everyone to go and check it out and support this amazing series, so hopefully it will continue on into the future. Now, this episode, named Junior Detectives, focuses on Sun Wukong and Neptune Vasilius, our 2 local junior detectives, as they are trying to figure out what happened to Team RWBY. Now, for starters, this cinematic is only about 3.5 minutes long, so there's only so much information that could possibly be contained within that amount of time. And for the most of it, it's kind of focusing on the antics between Sun and Neptune. So there isn't that much new information that is revealed, but there are some very important things that we can get from this short cinematic. In general, it does feel, at least with this first cinematic, that it is a kind of love letter to the RWBY series, focusing on some favorite characters and favorite moments. Since Junior Detectives between Sun and Neptune was first introduced in a RWBY chibi skit, it really feels like it's pulling from a lot of different aspects of the RWBY fandom and kind of bringing this together as kind of a send-off to Volume 9. A way to kind of capstone the series while it's still under the Rooster Teeth umbrella, which hopefully will continue with the writer's influence at some point in the future, which is something that I will talk about in another video that will come soon, but for now I do want to focus on what we see in this episode. Starting off, we get the case files of Team RWBY, the missing persons that have come across the desks of the junior detectives. Which, you know, honestly, I doubt Sun and Neptune actually have a desk, but still, we'll play along. They are trying to investigate what happened to Team RWBY, because neither of them were actually there in the crossroads. They don't know what happened. They were in Vacuo, and by the time all of the people of Atlas got there, Team RWBY and Jean were nowhere to be found. So of course they're going to interrogate the suspects, or rather, as they should be called, the witnesses. And again, Sun and Neptune getting up to their normal antics. We don't actually see the people that they interview on screen. Instead, we have Neptune dressing up as those people. First, they try to interview Ren, who had said that he will be fully cooperative, but he doesn't really know what happened. Which makes sense, given that at the end of Volume 8, Ren was one of the first people to pass through the portal to Vacuo to make sure that everyone was secure on the other side, to make sure that they could actually make it to the city of Vacuo. And they walked out into a sandstorm and then found out that they couldn't get back through the portal. We've been through all of that before, but Ren wouldn't know anything. The next person they tried to interview is Crow, who wasn't even there at the time. He was preoccupied with other things going on in Atlas, namely the Aesops and trying to stop Ironwood from dropping a bomb on the city of Mantle and taking out a huge number of people, so Crow really had nothing to say, and especially, well, in general, he just doesn't talk to cops, or, you know, whatever Neptune and Sun are pretending to be. Which also does kind of beg the question, Vacuo being the lawless land that it is, does it actually have a police system? My guess would probably be no, outside of, you know, the huntsmen and huntresses that are present there, some of which may be of less savory nature. Seems like Vacuo is a place where, you know, the criminals of the world would go to disappear, and well, let's be honest here, it's kind of where the entire world is going at this point, as the last hope for survival against the Grim and Salem, but again, another topic, another video. So it really makes me wonder what the people of Vacuo would think about Sun and Neptune pretending to be detectives. I have a feeling that they might not take too kindly to it, and at the very least, no one's going to be answering their questions. Except, of course, people that they know. And the third person that they then interview was Nora. And Nora just laid it out flat, pretty much saying exactly what we as the audience already know. We were told not to fall. Team RWBY and Jean fell. We don't know what happened after that. Not even Oscar or Ozpin know what happened to them, revealing that, well, Ozpin, through all of his lives and all of his experiences, has no knowledge about what would happen in that void. Who knows if anything has even been created like the Crossroads with the Staff of Creation before. But Ozpin had a hand in creating the vaults, so maybe he would have some idea. And maybe Oscar and Ozpin are just playing that a bit more close to the chest. Hopefully we'll find out at some point in the future, but I'd imagine that Ozpin and Oscar have some ideas or some theories as to what might have happened, though they just may not have anything concrete, considering Ozpin probably has never been to the Ever After or been to another world. But he has had encounters with the gods and would have some idea that something might exist outside of Remnant. Maybe that's where they were taken, etc. He had a hand in the vaults, there's got to be something that he knows there. But Nora and everyone that they've interviewed can't give them any answers. Sun and Neptune are at a dead end, and they don't know where to go from there. They've had so many questions, but no answers, and it's all leading to dead ends, and their last-ditch idea is simply to follow Ozpin, Oscar, to the Headmasters Meeting and just eavesdrop. And this is where we get the, well, important information from this episode of RWBY Volume 9 Beyond. Because we see this Headmasters Meeting. We don't actually hear anything that was going on or what anyone was saying, but just the people present is enough to make this incredibly significant. There are 5 people in that room. We see Professor Theodore for the first time on screen. And he doesn't have his boxing gloves on, but damn, he looks like a badass. I kind of want to see him and Crow spar, honestly. And then, of course, Oscar is also there. Ozpin and Theodore meeting, makes sense, they're both headmasters. And then there are 2 maidens present, potentially 3. We see Winter, we see Raven, which tells us that Raven came back to Vacuo, got in contact with Crow, probably Ozpin, and, well, obviously Ozpin since she's in that room, but got back in contact with Crow, I'm guessing immediately after Yang disappeared from Remnant. She would have felt that bond, her kindred link, disappear from the world, and even though Raven does have a cold exterior, she does care about her daughter. We saw that at the end of Volume 9 as well. She was asking about Yang when she was meeting with Summer. Of course, Summer really didn't give her the time of day or tell her much about that because Raven took off, but in her own way, she does care, and it looks like maybe now she's trying to make amends by trying to finally help out in that fight. She's lost a lot of the people close to her, so maybe that's a driving force. Better late than never, maybe? But still, she's there in Vacuo, meeting with Ozpin and Theodore, helping in the fight against Salem. I doubt she's gonna go traitor again, so from this point on, I'm guessing she's on the correct side of history at this point. And the third person that we see is a cloaked figure at the back of the room. And even within the episode itself, Sun is saying, maybe this is the Summer Maiden. And then they just scribble that out saying, no new characters, no new people introduced. So either they just mention the Summer Maiden in this episode as kind of a fake out, and this is going to be someone else important, or this is actually the Summer Maiden, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards, given that we've been wondering who the Summer Maiden is, where the Summer Maiden is for so long. It's been 9 volumes up until this point. We've seen the 3 other maidens. Even E.C. Myers kind of wanted to include a cameo of the Summer Maiden in one of his books, even just a mysterious cloaked character that was never actually touched on, but that never came to be. So it would just make sense for this to be the Summer Maiden. Who else would be in the meeting with Ozpin, Theodore, 2 of the other maidens? It would just fit for this to be one of the other maidens. There are only 2 other characters that we currently know of who would make sense being in that room in this meeting. One of which is Glinda Goodwitch, and this character is obviously not Glinda, or Xanth Rumpole, essentially Professor Theodore's version of Glinda Goodwitch. But this doesn't seem to be Xanth Rumpole either. It's someone that Sun and Neptune do not recognize. If they recognize Professor Theodore, well, we know from the events of Before the Dawn that Neptune has certainly encountered Professor Rumpole and fought her in battle and lost miserably, so he would recognize Rumpole. So it's definitely not Rumpole. It's someone new. So regardless of what the episode says, no new characters, there's going to be a new character introduced. My guess is this is probably the Summer Maiden. If not, we're going to get the Summer Maiden at some point. Regardless, we are going to meet new characters being in Vacuo, given that it's a whole new country. There are going to be a lot of familiar faces with everyone from Mistral, Atlas, and Vale going to Vacuo as refugees. There's going to be a lot of people in Vacuo, native to Vacuo, who we are going to meet on top of that. There are going to be new characters, and the Summer Maiden is probably at the top of that list. Not to mention, I doubt Theodore and Ozpin would want to leave the Summer Maiden wandering out in the world, wherever she may be, while everything is happening in the way that it currently is, with kingdoms falling to ruin. They probably want to call the Summer Maiden, wanted to track her down. Maybe it took a couple of weeks, couple of months. Maybe this was the first meeting that the Summer Maiden was actually there for, and that's why, Sun and Neptune had never seen her before. Before we actually get to hear anything, though, Crow shows up, throws Sun and Neptune out of the meeting, and, well, their investigation of what happened to Team RWBY is still left at a dead end. No one knows what happened to them. And that's all that we got for the first episode of RWBY Volume 9 Beyond. Again, it was a very short episode, but there are some very important takeaways from it. The first of which being that no one knows what happened to Team RWBY and Jean, which makes sense given that no one on Remnant would have any clue about the Ever After, but not everyone thinks that they are dead. Or at least, there are people, such as Sun and Neptune, who are trying to find out what could have happened to them. I'm sure a lot of people, especially after the weeks and months have passed, did end up coming to the conclusion and accepting the reality that Team RWBY had perished in the Crossroads. That's why their names were engraved on that memorial that was left at the site of the portal that led people from Atlas to Vacuo, that led through the Crossroads. But I do find it very interesting that there are some, even as goofy as Sun and Neptune are, that are looking for answers, that may still be holding out hope that they might have lived, that there might be something else that happened to them other than just disappearing into nothing. Which might give them the opportunity to say, I told you so, later on, but we'll have to wait and see. And then, of course, seeing Theodore on screen is very impactful. We now have a face to go with the legendary name, and seeing Raven there, working with everyone, that she has now come to fight against Salem. Whether the entire Bronwyn tribe has been brought with her, whether we will see Shady Man again, and if he'll still have that missing tooth from when Yang punched it out. Their reunion will be fun if Yang ever greets him again, though with the number of characters that we're going to end up seeing in Volume 10 when we ever get there is going to be quite substantial, which is also why it was said in the episode, no new characters, even though obviously there are going to be new characters, as we're going to be introduced to many other characters who are powerful and influential in Vacuo. The most of which might be this hooded character that is in this very important meeting with the headmasters of, well, I guess the only remaining academy is Shade Academy, so Ozpin's technically not a headmaster anymore, but with these powerful and influential people in all of Remnant. The two maidens, Winter and Raven, Ozpin and Theodore, and this hooded individual. Also, Crow is on the way to the meeting as well, so it's all people within the inner circle. It's very likely that this individual is probably the Summer Maiden or someone extremely important. Regardless, let me know your thoughts on the first episode of RWBY Volume 9 Beyond. How did you like seeing the junior detectives again? How did you like seeing Professor Theodore on screen for the first time? And who do you think that hooded character in the meeting alongside Theodore, Ozpin, Raven, and Winter is? Do you think that it is indeed the Summer Maiden, or do you think it's someone else that we have yet to meet? We're definitely going to get new characters, and I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are. Now, I know this is the first video that I've recorded in quite a while, and I will be making an update video to explain, what's been going on, and also give my thoughts on recent events that have happened, etc. But if you guys want to ask me any questions, or just catch up with me live, I do stream 3 times a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings, and I've been continuing to do that for pretty much regularly the past year. So, feel free to stop by. We can chat there about RWBY, about things that are going on, about video games, anime, etc. And I still plan on continuing to make videos on this channel on RWBY, as well as, you know, continuing streaming. So I'm not going anywhere, even though I might disappear for a couple months at a time. But hopefully, at the very least, it won't be that long until my next upload. I do plan on covering all of RWBY Volume 9 Beyond at the very least. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.